Vice President Chaput, present. Treasurer Weddle.
Here.
Secretary LaSorsa.
Here.
Vice Treasurer Hokinson.
Here.
Chief Justice Wu.
Here.
Chief of Staff.
Here.
Director of PR.
Here.
Director of Wellness and Inclusion.
Here.
Director of Leadership and Development is excused. Director of Campus Community Outreach is absent. Pro Temp Ludoan.
Here.
Senator Beckman. Senator Fisher is excused. Senator Capo. Senator Khan. Senator Novak. Senator Pena. Senator Ritchie is excused. Senator Rose. Advisor Artajani. Advisor Wadsworth. Webb. CFB. Wildcat Media. Wildcat Esports. Called Council Rep. SAC. ResLife. That concludes roll call. Moving into approval of minutes and agenda, starting with today's, last week's minutes. Apologies. Starting with last week's minutes. Is there any discussion? Pro Temp Ludoan.
Present members to roll call.
Motion to add all the present members to roll call. Is there a second? Second by Senator Rose. Moving into discussion of the amendment. Is there any discussion for this amendment? Treasurer Weddle.
I have just sort of a question, and this is not something that has to be decided now, but in years past, we've listed only the members absent. I recognize that that was changed at some point, but I'm just curious as to if there's a reason behind why we're moving into. I'm going to yield to our pro temp.
It was just discussed within the Senate that we'd prefer to have the present members added to roll call for the minutes, just because if somebody's coming back from somebody from next year comes and read the minutes, they don't know who was actually at the meeting. They just know who was excused and absent.
Is there any further discussion? Senator Novak.
I could be wrong, but I remember in the 2024 to 2025 academic year, we also included the members who were present. And then all of last semester, we also included all the members who were present. So for the last almost 2 years, we've been doing the inclusion of present members. And it would probably be good to stick the form instead of keep on changing it every other semester.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll go into voting. All those in favor of adding all the present members to roll call for the previous week's minutes, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain, that passes 7-0-0. Moving on to back into further discussion of the minutes as a whole. Is there any further discussion? Pro Temp Ludoan.
I'd like to motion to add no report to the following under reports: Chief of Staff, College Council Rep, Advisors, and then for committee reports, Safety and Facilities, and Student and Success Technology, no report as well.
We have a motion to add no report under the mentioned reports. Is there a second? Second by Senator Beckman. Moving into discussion. Is there any discussion for this amendment? Pro Tem Ludoan.
Those were present members that did state no report, and it was just not reflected in the minutes, which is why we figured to add it.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, does anyone not approve unanimous approval? Seeing no disapproval, that passes unanimously. Back into the meeting minutes as a whole, Senator Pena. We have a motion to strike and technology from student sex in the committees, correct? All right, is there a second? Second by Senator Novak. Moving in discussion on the amendment, is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll be moving into voting. Does anyone not approve of unanimous approval for this amendment? Seeing no disapproval, that passes unanimously. Back into the minutes as a whole. Pro Temp Ludoan.
Under motion to push back open forum until it says exclamation 1:50 p.m. I'd like to fix that with house rules to state 1 p.m.
We,
1:50 p.m.
just as I mentioned, is that a motion or just saying as for house rules?
House rules.
Okay. Is there any further discussion for the minutes of last week? Seeing no further discussion, we'll go into voting. All those in favor of last week's minutes, please raise your hand. Sorry, we're going to start over real quick. All those in favor of last week's minutes, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain, that passes 7-0-0. Moving on to this week's agenda. Is there any discussion for this week's agenda? Wildcat Media? We have a motion to put swear-ins right after reports. Is there a second? Second by Senator Beckman. Moving into discussion of the amendment to the agenda. Is there any discussion for this amendment? Seeing no discussion, we'll move into voting. All those in favor of moving swear-ins to after reports? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain, that passes 6-0-1. Back into discussion of the agenda as a whole. Is there any discussion for the agenda? Pro Tem Ludewan?
Bill number 2526-13 to the bottom of new business.
We have a motion to push Bill number 2526-13 to the bottom of new business. Is there a second? Second by Senator Pena. Moving to discussion of the amendment. Is there any discussion for this amendment? Pro Tem Ludewan?
The Senate just come to the conclusion that the commencement bill is not very important at the moment, and they'd like to have the other stuff passed before that. Which is why I just motion to push it down.
All right. Is there any further discussion for the motion? Senator Novak? Oh, no? Okay. Then we will move into voting. All those in favor of the amendment to push Bill number 2526-13 to the bottom of new business, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain, that passes 7-0-0. Back in discussion of the agenda as a whole. Is there any further discussion? Senator Novak?
Can we table a bill back in the approval of the agenda, or do we have to wait until we get to that?
Wait until you get to it in the reading.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion for the agenda as a whole? Senator Novak?
Motion to move Bill number 2526-12 to the beginning of new business.
We have a motion to move Bill number 2526-12 to beginning of new business. Is there a second? Second by Pro Temp Ludewan. Is there any discussion for this resolution? Webb?
May I ask why the table longer than this bill has been on the table?
Senator Novak made the motion.
The reason why is we plan to push the bill back to policy committee, and we also policy committee cannot send out a new updated version of the bill that we've been working on until we push it back. And so if we don't push it back, we're never going to be able to get the new version of the bill. And so it should just be 5 minutes to read it, probably less, and then vote on the thing to push it back to policy committee. I yield.
Is there any further discussion for the amendment to the agenda? Seeing no further discussion, we'll go into voting on moving Bill number 2526-12 to the beginning of new business. All those in favor of this amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All those who abstain? That passes 7-0-0. Is there any further discussion for the agenda as a whole? Seeing no further discussion, we'll go into voting on the agenda as a whole. All those in favor of today's agenda, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain, that passes 7-0-0. That concludes the approval of the minutes and the agenda. Moving on to announcements. There are no announcements. Moving on to guest speakers. How do you pronounce your last name? Zarnak. John Zarnak, please take the floor.
All right. Thanks for having me and being flexible to put me at the beginning so I can get to the next thing today. So I'm John Zernecki. I'm the Director of Athletics here on campus. I've been here for a couple years. Some familiar faces, some not so familiar faces. But if you know me, you may have seen me recently at the library tabling where I was talking to students who came up about intramurals. So that's kind of in a roundabout way why I'm here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about what and why. So I'll jump right to it. I'm looking to implement a recreation fee of $50 a semester in order to enhance and expand the leisure and recreation opportunities for all of our students on campus, including things like regular intramural activities, extended field house hours, fixing and modernizing equipment, and additional staffing for planning and monitoring those additions. This fee would be kept separate from the athletic fee, and it would not be used for anything related to varsity athletics here on campus. Why am I looking to implement this? Currently, the athletic fee is in place. It's meant to cover the operations of the competitive intercollegiate athletic program, and then hopefully expand to on-campus offering to the student body. Unfortunately, the fee has not kept up with the rising costs of salaries and benefits, new equipment, maintenance on old equipment, etc. The athletic fee as it is also cannot fully cover the competitive intercollegiate athletic program, so I'm currently having to supplement that through fundraising efforts via teams and via the entire department, as well as getting some state assistance where possible. And so therefore, because of this, I've been unable to build out a recreation program for all of our students on campus. And based off of the surveys that I received previous to my time here, as well as that have been coming in since my time here, including those that we've been collecting over the last couple days, it's evident to me and evident to the campus that there is a desire to have these activities, have extended field house hours, newer equipment, etc. The main part of this fee, this recreation fee, would go towards intramural sports. So those who may not know, intramural sports is organized recreation, as I like to describe it. Non-varsity student athlete teams, competing together with your friends, making teams with friends for various activities. I stopped short of saying sports. I'll explain what some of those activities are in a moment. Getting together once or twice a week, having formal schedules of when you'll play, who you'll compete against, standings, and ultimately things like prizes, T-shirts are the most popular in intramural sports for the winning team in that activity. My vision for this would be, as I've provided to the campus community and I'll provide to you all, having a robust intramural program to me means having 2 intramural activities every 5 to 6 weeks, so essentially 4 per semester, 2 going on at any given time. Activities are chosen based on the overall interest and request from the student body. So it's not just going to be something that I'm interested or we're interested in. It's going to be the students voicing what they'd like to do next relative to an activity, including updated and accurate web pages with all the information, sign-ups, feedback pages, etc., and getting into what some of those activities look like. And again, this is based off of surveys. Some of the most popular interests from the student body: badminton, indoor soccer, cornhole, video gaming, ultimate frisbee, and basketball were some of the activities and sports that rose to the top of our student surveys. So this fee, in particular, what it would cover, it's going to start with covering the costs associated with a 10-month employee dedicated to planning and implementing this intramural program and extending hours. So this person's normal hours would probably look something more like 2 to 10 or 3 to 11 or something like that, as opposed to your typical 8 to 4. including communications, outreach, scheduling, oversight of work-study students, and essentially everything involved from A to Z with a recreation program. The fee is also going to have money set aside for fitness center equipment. Right now, that fitness center in the field house is the only one that we have. With the campus center improvements that are coming, varsity athletes are going to have a different facility. So again, the field house facility will be primarily for the students and for the non-athlete student body. So this money would help to equip that, repairs and maintenance, equipment for awards, equipment and awards for intramurals, student and graduate assistant student pay in order to keep the hours open and keep the facilities running for the student body. And most importantly, the way that I've set this up is to have a 6-year cycle for equipment in the field house. Again, not the varsity weight room, but the field house. Right now, that equipment is probably 15 to 20 years old. If you've been in there, you see that we have some machines that just plain don't work, that are out of warranty, out of the ability to order parts. They don't even make the parts anymore. So getting on a 6-year equipment cycle would be extremely valuable to keep updated equipment and keep it safe and functional for you all. Some of the other ideas that I have with this, relative to some of the leisure activities, and while this fee wouldn't be able to pay for these in whole, it'd certainly be able to supplement it. I know that there's a disc golf course project in the works. I've heard about trails and bike paths, obstacle courses, etc. And so again, while I can't sit here and say that this fee would 100% cover it, I can say with certainty that I do have interest in allocating some of these funds to assist again in that overall leisure activities for the general student body and what you all are looking to get. So overall, the way I'm looking at this is it should really enhance the opportunities and experiences for the student body, which is a big goal of mine, a big goal of the campus as a whole. Yeah, I just wanted to share that. It's my understanding that I'm going to be circling back to the executive board in a couple weeks to hear any feedback, any questions, anything I can provide. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Just to notify the whole horseshoe and the general body, if you do have any questions, statements, concerns, anything like that, please do direct it in email to the executive board members here. Thank you. Thank you. That concludes guest speakers. Moving on to reports, starting with the executive reports. President Lunahara.
Good morning, everybody. We're conducting business as usual. I'm meeting with various departments across campus on multiple different student government initiatives. Hopefully, fingers crossed, one major initiative will be presented here at the Horseshoe next week. I'd also like to iterate that if any committee members or anybody at all is having any issues reaching out to faculty, staff, or admins, anybody working for the school, please reach out to me and I will ensure that your request is not being ignored. And as mentioned by our Vice President, if any questions regarding the athletics fee, please reach out to any of us in the executive board and we'll bring it to John Zanerki. Thank you.
Report. Hello, everyone. I've continued working on policies that unfortunately still cannot be discussed yet. Additionally, I've worked with Pro Temp Ludewan to even out the committees given the resignations at the beginning of this semester. Thank you. Treasurer Weddle.
Hi, everyone. It's good to finally be sworn in and acting within my position. Kai and I met yesterday with John Reel, the Director of Auxiliary Services, to discuss some upcoming changes to financial policy. Purchase requests are being reviewed. Budget Committee is full steam ahead. I'm looking forward to a great spring semester. If you have any fiduciary questions, always feel free to reach out to sgutreasurer@sunypoly.edu. Thank you.
Secretary LaSorsa.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to start this role. Some things I'm working on, updating the bills and resolutions, and I know that the policies isn't updated on Engage. I'm also working on this. For reports, I sent out a form to everyone in the Horseshoe when I gave the agenda. Please fill them out of the reports that you give today. Also, any motions you make today, please send it over so I can give out a accurate thing on the minutes. Thank you.
That concludes executive reports. Moving on to direct reports, starting with Chief of Staff.
We're working on some great content and future activities, future events, one of which is going to be the Professional Development Day. We have been planning on it, and we hope to host it at the end of March after spring break. That's all.
All right. Chief Justice. No report. Director of PR.
Nameplates are on the way. I've submitted the purchase request for the sheet, and Design and Develop will be printing those out as soon as that comes in. Another logo has been finished, Wellness and Inclusion, and it has been approved, so that will be going up on Engage soon. And with safety and facilities giving us the harder times, but we will be getting through that. And after reviewing the members currently involved in SGU, we will be revisiting ordering the SGU apparel. And as well, we have kicked off our series on Instagram, highlighting 100 Days Till Graduation initiatives and events, so stay tuned. And today, hopefully we get to it, we will be trying to expand our social media platforms to TikTok, and as well another surprise one that I will try to motion on the table if we get to that. And I yield.
All right. Director of Wellness and Inclusion.
Yes, I have obtained pricing information for the items that's being considered to add to our wellness vending machine. And after reviewing the price, we have decided to proceed with these items. So you guys, new items will be added to the vending machine. Yay! Okay. I am also currently confirming potential dates for wellness events.
All right. Our advisors.
No report from me. I'm going to yield to Advisor Wadsworth.
Hi, everyone. Hope everybody's having a good semester so far. We wanted to highlight two events that are going through kind of the CSI office, I guess. The first one is this Tuesday. We are hosting another Crosstown Showdown with Utica University's basketball games going against our Wildcats. Tuesday, February 17th, 5:30 for the women's game, 7:30 for the men's game. It is posted on Engage. We are going to be doing some fun activities alongside Utica University. Their dance and cheer teams are going to be doing performances during halftime. We will have some blue and gold items available, just like last time. And they're also offering popcorn, all sorts of snacks, and poster making. So it's a really cool partnership that we have, and we hope that you all show up to support your Wildcats at UU. This is at Utica University. The next one is the Utica Comets College Night. We are going to be joining a bunch of other local colleges, MVCC, Herkimer, Hamilton, Pratt, all of the local colleges, for a night with the Utica Comets. So there are discounted tickets available using the link on Engage. That is February 27th, 6 p.m. at the Adirondack Bank Center. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you. I yield.
All right. That concludes director reports. Moving on to committee reports, starting with Policy Committee. Howdy, everyone. We discussed this last week, our plans for the committee during this semester. We have several bills in waiting and are excited to present them when we are satisfied they are ready. As a reminder, our meetings are 6 to 7 p.m. in Kinsella A219. Thank you. And moving on to Budget Committee.
Budget Committee is meeting weekly in Kinsella A219 at 8 in the morning. Yes, I know it's early. Please do come, show up. Budget Committee is really the best place to give input on where your student activity fee gets spent. We do ultimately discuss next year's budget on the Senate floor, but Budget Committee is where that drafted budget is first formed. We're still waiting to hear back from organizations with regards to their budget requests. Y'all will likely be getting an email about that later today. Right now we're going through the financial policy, just finishing up some edits that were made last semester. We're hoping to have that on the table in a couple of weeks. That's all. I yield.
Student success?
Student Success will be meeting this tomorrow, Friday at 11 a.m. in the SC Theater. And yeah.
All right. Student Center Advisory?
For Senator Fisher, and as told, the meeting tomorrow is canceled. That's all. I yield.
All right. Wellness and Inclusion?
For the event at the library, and we will be meeting today in the Student Center Theater at 6 p.m. to discuss ideas for the semester. We hope to see you there.
Food Committee?
As a reminder, there is no food committee meeting today, as the committee is now bi-weekly. We meet again next week. I yield.
Safety and Facilities? Class Gift?
Our meeting times for Mondays, we'll be meeting on Mondays from 12 to 1 p.m. In the Student Center Theater.
All right. That concludes committee reports. Moving on to organizational reports, starting with Webb.
Hi, everyone. Tomorrow is Anti-Valentine's Day from 8 to 10 p.m. in the SCMPR. And then next week we have our pottery night on Wednesday and then airbrush t-shirts on Thursday. As always, stay updated to our Engage and our social media. I yield.
CFB?
So we are actually working on new policy updates that should be added to the agenda for the next, in about 2 weeks or so. I'm not going to go into too much detail about them now, but we will be discussing them in our next CFB business meeting. And other than that, we're just continuing normal operation. I yield.
Wildcat Media?
Hi everyone, Wildcat Media has some projects being worked on that you hopefully will all see soon. Follow us on Instagram at SUNY WCM to be updated when they release. Please join us on our scavenger hunt event in the SCMPR on March 6th at 7 p.m. I yield.
Wildcat Esports?
Hello everyone, Wildcat Esports is going well. As usual, Smash Weekly is this Sunday. Pride Fest prizes are finalized, and the details for many of our event collaborations have been finalized. And we're working on a few new events this semester. Look forward to more news about them next week. I yield.
All right. That concludes reports as a whole. Moving into swear-ins. Can I have everyone being sworn in today please come to the center of the horseshoe?
Please raise your hand and repeat after me. When I say state your name, you will state your name. When I say state your organization and position, you will state your organization and position. All right. I state your name. Will faithfully uphold the student government at Utica Constitution and carry out the duties of state your organization and position to the best of my ability, and will represent the students of SUNY Poly in a fair and unbiased manner. Thank you. Please sign in that.
All right. That concludes swear-ins. Moving to the approval of the changelog, there is nothing to approve. Before we get into old business, we're just going to wait for them to exit the horseshoe. Alrighty, moving into old business, resolution number 2526-16, Senator Khan.
26-16.
Do we have a second? Second by Senator Rose.
We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government Utica, do hereby resolve. Whereas the student government at Utica recognizes the purpose of the reserve fund to support unexpended organizational needs, operational demands, and infrastructure improvements, and whereas the club funding board has experienced an unexpected increase in new club registrations requiring activation funds as well as a higher volume of extra funding requests, creating the need for additional financial support. And whereas the workload of the club funding board treasurer has significantly increased, necessitating a stipend adjustment to ensure fair and adequate compensation. And whereas the Wildcat Events Board has seen record-setting attendance at its events due to historically high student enrollment, leading to budget strain and internal reallocation of funds that now require replenishment. And whereas esports has expanded its competitive programming, staffing, travel, and event needs beyond its originally allocated budget. And whereas Wildcat Media incurred an unexpected subscription expense that may require full payment. And whereas the student government at Utica requires computer equipment to maintain efficient operations and administrative capacity. And whereas the student government at Utica would like to close the financial barrier on transportation for all students. Therefore be it enacted. SGU computers total $10,000. $10,000 office supplies 59004. Centro Bus Initiative $6,000. $6,000 Centro Bus Line new line creation. Campus groups bridging fee $12,255. $12,255 special project. Grand total reserves withdrawal $97,739.41. Therefore be it resolved. Resolved, the above allocations shall be distributed in accordance with SGU financial policies, and any unused funds shall return to the SGU Reserve Fund at the end of the fiscal year. And be it further resolved, SGU organizations will be able to operate within improved budget to compensate for the increase in student population. And be it finally resolved, SGU can provide the student body with a better campus life experience through the allocation and spending of additional funds.
Alrighty, moving into discussion of the resolution. Is there any discussion for this resolution? President Lunaharo.
So one thing I realized, I just wanted to clarify a little bit about the Central Bus Initiative. So the way exactly it's going to work is the 6,000 is going to be for 500 weekly bus passes. It's not, you don't get one pass and you get it for the rest of the semester. It's per week. Each of these passes will last a week. And then if you want another pass, you'll have to get another one again. So the way I got the 35 last time was just, if say if one student were to get a pass every single week, it will be for 35 students for the rest of the semester. But we will have 500 weekly passes. So I just wanted to clarify that in case there was any confusion. That's it.
Is there any further discussion for Treasurer Weddle?
When this was last talked about, there was discussion of bus passes possibly being distributed through CSI. My understanding is at the time CSI was not aware of that. I just was wondering, has a process been drafted, proposed, established for how these passes are going to be distributed, as well as the criteria and limitations on these bus passes? Because if a single student gets a weekly pass for the rest of the semester, they're getting significantly more than pretty much any other student on campus. I'm going to yield back to the president.
So not yet. We have not established that system yet, but generally, obviously, we would have limitations. Obviously, we will not let one student take 10 weekly passes at once. There will be set limitations, and we will work with CSI to set up the exact limitations. We will make sure that it is fair and that it is accessible to everybody. And yeah.
Is there any further discussion for the resolution? Adam Capo. Sorry, Senator Capo.
So we did run out a survey last semester, and we got a total of about 35 to 40, around, I don't remember the exact number, I think it was 37 of people who use the buses daily to come and to leave SUNY Poly. And that's where I basically just did the math for the number. Yeah.
Is there any further discussion for the resolution? Our advisor? Director of PR?
Just to kind of echo what Kathy said, I think a lot more pre-planning should go behind this, especially establishing a protocol process before we start throwing money onto tables and taking money out. I yield.
All right. Is there any further discussion for the resolution? Treasurer Weddle?
In regards to the comment made by our director of PR and one of our advisors, would the president be comfortable, would the president be comfortable leaving the amount as in and amending the resolution as a whole to add in a stipulation that it shall be essentially held until a process has been determined by which students will be receiving these passes and pending approval by the Senate? So essentially, the stipulation would be the 6,000 is allocated, it's withdrawn from reserves. We can only do one reserves poll per year, so it allows the funds to be set aside for this project, but the funds will not actually be allowed to be used until the Senate has voted on and agreed upon a process by which for students to receive these passes. I'm going to yield to our president.
I'm fine with that.
Is there any further discussion for Director of PR?
I had a question for CSI, actually, if they have any ideas, just on the floor right now. Any ideas? Doesn't have to be concrete or even perfect.
Is there any further discussion for the resolution as a whole? Senator Novak?
As much as this might be a bad idea, I'm not entirely sure if this is too extreme of an idea, but considering the fact that it's 6K and CSI doesn't know what they're has no idea of how this would be implemented because, they, I guess, haven't had time to work on it or even haven't really been approached about this until the end of last SGU meeting. And the fact that currently the exec board does not know what the plans are for distributing this, it might be a good idea to either cut this in half because it's so much money, or just to entirely remove this from the line. I'm not making this a motion because I'm not sure if, which one would be theoretically better. And we can't make two competing motions. So I think we should, discuss if that's a possibility we even want to look into due to all of these concerns that are popping up. And 6K is a lot to give to a plan that is in the early first drafting stages and has not even been close to finalized. I yield.
President Lunaharo?
I think that issue has been addressed by our treasurer, so yeah.
Treasurer Weddle?
In regards to that, I would like to entertain a motion to append to the bottom of the references of Resolution 2526-16 a stipulations for, I apologize, stipulation for Centro Bus Initiative stating that none of this money will be allowed to be spent pending approval from the Senate with regards to a process by which these passes shall be distributed. I'd be happy to restate. I can write it down and send it to the Senate for clarity. I yield.
So moved by Pro Tem Ludewan, second by Senator Beckman. Going in discussion on the amendment to references adding the stipulations for the Central Bus Initiative, which I will ask the treasurer send out a stated motion for that to the Horseshoe. Director of PR.
Yeah, I had a question. Is any money from our special projects line going towards this initiative, since that is the line kind of forward initiatives and projects in SGU?
President Lunahara?
No, we are not going to be using our special projects line as of now.
Is there any further discussion for this amendment? Seeing no further discussion, I'm going to hold until the email is sent out to the horseshoe so that everyone has a clear stating of the motion. Senator Rose.
While we're waiting, I'd like to ask the President why this is a new line creation and for a pilot program, not just money allocated to the special projects line.
President Lunahara.
Generally, it's just for the sake of organizing it because we do have other plans that we may have for the special projects line, and this is just to separate that. If anybody believes that this is better to just be put in special projects, feel free to argue and vote for it. Generally, I don't have anything against that, but that's just my suggestion.
Is there any further discussion? Everyone should have just been sent the email. Please check your emails now. Alrighty, now that the horseshoe has access to the motion, we will go into voting as there seem to be no further discussion. So, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed and all those who abstain, that passes 7-0-0. Back into discussion of the resolution as a whole. Is there any further discussion for this resolution?
Just a point of clarity, I suppose. Is the Senate voting on the resolution as a whole or just the portion relating to SGU? I'm just going to yield back
Yeah.
to the chair.
So as we have divided the question for this, each section has been voted on, right? So this is the final section of it. We are only voting on this section of it, but there will not be a vote for the whole thing as a total. It will just be this section, and that is the last thing voted on for this resolution. So as we are in discussion of the resolution as a whole, is there any further discussion? May I ask that a motion is entertained to, instead of having a new line creation under Central Bus Initiative, to put it under Special Projects line? So moved by Pro Tem Ludewan, second by Senator Novak. Moving into discussion of the amendment to the Central Bus Initiative. Is there any discussion for this amendment? Seeing no discussion, we'll be moving to voting. All those in favor of, instead of a new line creation under Central Bus Initiative, to be moved into Special Project line? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed and all those who abstain, that passes 7-0-0. Back in discussion of the resolution as a whole. Is there any further discussion for this resolution? Seeing no further, President Lunahara.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the grand total is not updated.
Can I ask that Treasurer Weddle can give a update to the grand total? President Lunahara.
I did the math here and I got the total of 127,739.41.
All right. Is there any further discussion for the resolution as a whole? Seeing no. Pro Tem Ludewan.
Can I have the president restate the number, please?
127,739.41.
Pro Tem Ludewan.
I'd like to motion to change the grand total reserves withdraw from 97,739 to $127,739.41.
We have a motion to change the number of the grand total reserves to the number as previously mentioned. Is there a second? Second by Senator Khan. Moving to discussion of the amendment. Is there any discussion for this amendment? Director of PR?
I have a question. I thought the amount was going to go down, or we were trying to reduce the amount of the reserves pool. Just clarification on that. Like what was added on top of the 97,000? I yield to Treasurer Weddle.
Yeah, just clarification on that. The big change was the $30,000 for class gift. For some clarity on that, that money remains in our reserves. It'll just now be a designated restricted allocation. So it's not money that we're spending this year. It's going to stay within our savings account. It'll keep earning the 2% interest. It'll just be for next year. It just increases the total amount of the reserves pool. Is that an answer? I yield.
All right. Is there any further discussion for SGU's allocation of the reserves pool? Seeing no further discussion, we'll go into voting on SGU's allocation of the reserves pool. All those in favor of SGU's allocation, please raise your hand. All those opposed and all those who abstain, that passes 7-0-0, and that is the conclusion of resolution number 2526-16. That also concludes old business. Moving on to new business, bill number 2526-12, Pro Temp Ludewan.
Bill number 2526-12.
You can continue.
We, the members of the student government at Utica of SUNY Poly, as represented in the Senate, do hereby enact as follow: to provide the student government of Utica with an updated, well-outlined, collected, and straightforward policy and procedure outlining referendums and elections.
All right, moving in discussion of the bill. Senator Rose.
I'd like a motion to table this bill to Policy Committee.
We have a motion to table this bill back to Policy Committee, second by Pro Temp Ludewan. Is there... I apologize. I'm just going to ask the advisor real quick. Does this have a debate period for committing to a committee? Yes. Okay. Is there any discussion for committing to Policy Committee? Director of PR. Senator Rose.
Pretty much members of Policy Committee wanted to discuss this bill further. They didn't feel like they finished their discussion. So I think we were mostly all in agreement that this should be tabled back to policy.
Senator Novak.
Just from what we've done from the last policy committee meeting, we found multiple typos that changed the scope of the bill. We've also decided on some other things we decided to change, especially when it came to some of the changes we're looking into doing for probation period for people who moved from elections. And especially that one's still in hot debate right now, even in policy committee. And so that's one of the big things we're looking at. We're also looking at how to handle a running senator and executive special election, especially with the fact that as it is currently, it's a bit messy because when we do a special election that has both senatorial and executive positions, or a normal fall election which has both executive and senatorial positions, it's in this weird, messy gray area where like one side has a grace period, one doesn't, but it's like also not like really well stated, and it's super messy and makes it confusing. So we're trying to clean it full up. And also currently in the executive something looking into changing in the new version of the bill is debates are currently not required to happen before the election starts, which is a bit silly because how we've been doing it, we've been having for executive elections, the debates happening like a week after the election already starts, or a couple of days afterwards, which is frankly ridiculous because by that point, most people who would watch the debate probably already voted, so there's no reason to have a debate. It's kind of, I guess, like having debate after election day, and that's the first presidential debate of the U.S. election or something similar to that. That's the main reasoning. I yield.
All right. Is there any further discussion for committing this back to Policy Committee? Seeing no further, we'll go into voting on the motion to commit bill number 2526-12 to Policy Committee. All those in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain, that passes 7-0-0. Moving on to resolution number 2526-17, Senator Rose.
Motion to accept resolution 2526-17.
Do we have a second? Second by Senator Beckman.
All right. We, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government at Utica, do hereby resolve, whereas, based on an increase in student engagement and enrollment, Webb is having a difficult time funding the spring semester events, and the Webb team has decided that funding campus events is more desirable than attending conferences with their members during this time of need, and when budgeting for the NACA live conference, Webb also needed to cut vital pieces of the student event experience and decided that funding events was more important than a small group of members attending the conference. Therefore, be it enacted a line transfer of $3,900 from Webb travel/conference line to Webb homegrown events line, and a line transfer of $3,900 from the Webb travel/conference line to the Webb free bowling line, and a line transfer of $1,000 from the Webb Winterfest line to the Webb Casino Night line. Therefore, be it finally resolved, line transfers within the different Webb accounts will be initiated by the SGU Treasurer to assist Webb in funding spring activities, which would not occur without these line transfers.
All right. Moving to discussion of the resolution. Is there any discussion for this resolution? Webb.
I'd like to make a motion to change the second bullet point under enacted to say a line transfer of $3,900 from Web Travel Conference line to Web Carnival Day line.
We have a motion to change from Web free bowling line to Web Carnival Day line. That is correct. Is there a second? Second by Senator Rose. Moving discussion on the amendment to the enacted. Is there any discussion? Webb.
Looking at our budgeting spreadsheet, if you remember how I said from last time when we were talking about Web, we moved money in for winter sports to use it, but there is an allocated date in spring where we cannot put it under that line. We have leftover money in our free bowling line, realizing that putting that extra added money is just leftover that's sitting there, so why not put it towards something where we could boost our Carnival Day information as well.
All right. Is there any further discussion for the amendment? Treasurer Weddle.
Just to get into numbers for a second, how many more free bowling nights is Webb planning on hosting? I yield to Webb to answer the question when they've found the answer. Take your time.
There's 3 that could be allocated and given permission from John to put under winter sports, and then the 4th one, the final one, is allocated for April, but we cannot put it under winter sports, so we're putting it in our free bowling line, which we do have money left over from. And the added money from this line transfer would make no sense to go to it. Instead, we could put it towards something else that could be bigger. I yield.
Senator Novak.
Of the free bowling nights in April. Because shouldn't there at minimum at least be 2 free bowling nights in April? And I yield the Web, if I can do that.
Yeah.
No, that's not exactly a thing. It's just these are the dates we have offered and we could provide. Otherwise, April, we kind of stacked with events and like free with ID stuff. Like in April, you have a free billiards trip, a free bowling trip, a free skating trip, a free trampoline trip. And those are all packed into 4 weeks, technically almost 5. And it's coming into Apocalypse Week, so we don't want to do a bowling week that would hit Apocalypse Week. That's why. I yield back to the floor.
All right. Is there any further discussion for the amendments? Treasurer Weddle.
I recognize that within our budget, right, we have the general category of free with ID, but the thousands of dollars that were allocated for Free Ski Fridays were allocated for Free Ski Fridays, or rather under winter sports, as the line is referred to. In that regard, I guess I don't quite understand why we feel comfortable kind of tossing our budget out the window and just going to our simplified, generalized categories that everything falls under, much like how, with regards to events, right? Web has a single events category with about $150,000 in it. We break that events category down further into Apocalypse Week, Carnival Day, our homegrown events, our contracted events, Winterfest, casino night, school outings, and so on. Given that, we're hopefully not spending money for casino night on Carnival Day and vice versa, I guess I just don't really understand the rationale behind this. I'm just going to yield back to Webb to provide some clarification.
I stated a few weeks ago when we were talking about the web reserves poll, the winter sports line is very difficult right now, as in communication got delayed, and the dates that we were looking for were not available, and we have to follow a 1-month timeline. The open date was the 6th. We chose the 6th. The other dates, it's towards the end of skiing season, and with not wanting to waste money, we asked for permission from John that we could do this. John stated we could because bowling technically is a sport, and it falls during the winter season. That's the best way I can give it to you all right now. Is I understand that Treasurer Weddle is worried about this, but at the same time, it's using the money, not wasting it. We're still giving out a free ski date, even with the complications that we ran into. So I yield.
All right. Is there any further discussion for the amendment to the second bullet point of enacted? Director of PR?
I think it's a great idea. It's still going to the student body at the end of the day. I yield.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, I'm going to have Webb just restate the motion again.
Motion to change the second bullet point under enacted to say a line transfer of $3,900 from the Web Travel Conference line to the Web Carnival Day line.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All those who abstain? That passes 7-0-0. Back into the resolution as a whole. Is there any more discussion for this resolution? Seeing no further discussion, we'll go into voting on Resolution 2526-17. All those in favor of passing Resolution 2526-17, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain, that passes 7-0-0. Moving on to Resolution number 2526-18, Senator Beckman.
18.
Do we have a second? Second by Pro Tem Bludewan. You can continue.
Reallocation of school outing funds to casino night. The purpose of this resolution is to reallocate excess funds from school outings to enhance the casino night event by covering dealers' costs and increasing prize money. Whereas we, the Senate of SUNY Poly Student Government and Utica, do hereby resolve, whereas based on a reassessment of remaining funds, Webb has identified an opportunity to enhance the upcoming casino night event, largely due to a surplus in funds from school outing, and Webb team aims to allocate additional resources from unexpectedly high balances in the school outing budget to casino night, enriching the student experience through improved dealer service and a wide array of prizes, and the decision to reallocate funds from school outing to casino night was based on the opportunity to maximize on-campus events for students, ensuring excess funds directly boost student engagement and satisfaction. Therefore, be it enacted a line transfer of $1,325 from Webb school outing line to Webb casino night line for dealers, and a line transfer of $2,625 from the Webb school outing line to Webb casino night line for prizes. Therefore, be it resolved that if the line transfers are successful, $1,325 will be allocated from school outings to cover dealer costs for casino night, and be it further resolved that if the line transfers are successful, an additional $2,625 will be allocated to enhance the casino night prize pool, bringing the total prize budget to $4,945.59. And be it finally resolved that if these transfers are successful, casino night will will have sufficient funds for dealers and prizes, enhancing the event quality and appeal, which would not occur without these line transfers, therefore be it.
All right, moving discussion of the resolution as a whole, starting with Webb.
Motion to amend Resolution 2526-18 to say Erica Line, Web President, submitted the following resolution.
All right, we have a motion to change the submitters of this resolution. Is there a second? Second by Pro Temp Ludewan. I would like an explanation for this, Webb.
I was told by Treasurer Weddle, and then reaffirmed by our Vice President Chaput, that it should have been submitted with my name on it, not our treasurer's name. Yield.
All right. Is there any discussion for this amendment? Seeing no discussion, we'll move into voting on changing the submitter of the resolution. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All those opposed, and all those who abstain. That passes 7-0. Back into the resolution as a whole. Is there any discussion for this resolution? Senator Novak?
I'm not sure if this is still the consensus of the Senate or not, but I know when this bill first popped up at the beginning of the semester, during the pro temp meeting, the Senate as a whole was kind of agreeing, at least we were in agreement that this is a tiny bit a ridiculous amount of sum of money to be hosting towards one event, because I believe this does now bring Casino Night's budget above 20K, and 20K for a singular, I mean, I could be wrong if that consensus has changed. We didn't talk about today at that much during the pro-temp meeting, but I still at least agree with that consensus, because even if Casino Night is one of the bigger events and it's going to Apocalypse Week, 20K, oh, I guess it's probably gonna be more like around 23K, is a lot of money for a singular 2-hour, emphasis on the fact that this event is only 2 hours, a 2-hour event. Even if it does get a large attendance, even if it is something big, we are putting a lot of money into one thing, and it is also kind of like a eggs all in one basket situation. And I also don't know if we really need 50,000, 5,000 for just prizes, because that would also make like prizes like 1/4 of the entire budget of like Casino Night, at least around 1/4, maybe 1/4 to 1/5. But that is also a lot of money. I know we all like prizes and all of that, but especially with the changes being currently worked on with SGU, where we're limiting prizes for even organizations to be having to be less than $600. I don't know if we want to be going into planning events with $600 plus prizes, because we never know when that new financial policy is going to be voted on and be changed. At least, I'm also not sure if our new treasurer wants to go forward with that financial policy, but I feel like we're kind of assuming way too many things to be putting so much money in one event, especially with now also having to get money for Renaissance Day and the comedian and the other events for Apocalypse Week we're planning on making.
Webb?
Going over $20,000. Casino Night will be $18,080, and I will go through these numbers again. I believe I forwarded them all to you last week or the 2 weeks ago, but I can tell you them again and re-forward them. Prizes, the average prizes that we've spent the past 2 years I've been president has been $5,600, $5,700, and $5,500. We are asking for $5,800 for these needs that we wanted to, or these wants that we wanted to do, which, mind you, these numbers go into the fact that you just approved that reserves pool number that I just got. So, dealers is also $5,000. We want to up the dealers. Supplies, these are the new chips, which is is blue and white included with the new updated logo, so it no longer says SUNY IT. It also has a balloon arch, or not the balloon arch, I'm sorry, a blow-up arch, so we don't have to keep doing a balloon arch. It's just these are needed and wanted upgrades. I get it. It's a large number. I completely understand that it is a large number, but this is an event where I can guarantee you every single amount of it will be used. I will not be wasting these funds. We will not be wasting these funds. We will use them to the best of our ability. And if you guys like, I can resend you this sheet that I have written down with all the numbers and stuff, but every single dollar on here will be used. I yield to Advisor Wadsworth.
To that a little bit, it's not that $18,000 is going to be a reoccurring cost. I've worked with Web a little bit. They're trying to look for items and supplies that are going to be reusable. So like a balloon arch is an expense that they pay every single year. A custom arch would be way more fun for truthfully the largest attended event for students right now. And things like that are going to be sustainable, things that they can continue to have every year. So not that it's going to be $18,000 for every casino night moving forward. These are just upgrades because, again, this is the largest attended student event. Things are getting worn down, things are getting outdated. The equipment that they've had since far before I've been here. You can look at the yearbooks and it's been here for decades now. So sometimes some upgrades are needed, and if it's continuing to show its popularity, I think it is important for Web to be able to request that funding. I yield.
Senator Beckman?
I know I'm new to the horseshoe, but ever since I have been here, I've been asking my peers, which again are mostly freshmen, so they haven't experienced the whatever the other one is that people keep talking about. But every time I ask, they repeatedly say we want a better, a cooler casino night, especially if the stuff we're getting is going to last longer, is going to work for us for a longer time at a better level. I would also say that it was mentioned we had a consensus on this. I would say that's misleading. I don't think we ever reached a consensus on this issue. I at least have always been for spending a large amount of money on casino night, because especially for me, anecdotally, I loved it. Everyone I asked loved it. And if we're investing in its future, I don't see a problem with that. I yield.
Web?
I would just also like to quickly state for the Horseshoe, if you weren't there for this fall casino night, we had 401 students come. We had 22 dealers. We had coaches. We had volunteer staff, and I had student staff that volunteered to help among our already 12 Web staff. It was insane. It was technically, actually, very categorized and organized and very nice and smooth. We may have had a few issues with students stealing chips, but that would not be a problem with these new chips because they bring in the old chips. It's like, hello, not possible. I can't reiterate enough how big this event is. And it would very much help with running the event, keeping it organized and everything. And I'd also like to point out the tables, I don't know about the chips, tables go back to 1980. I have checked the yearbooks for alumni. I yield to Senator Beckman.
I would add, people aren't necessarily stealing your chips because they're going to get prizes next time. They're stealing them because they say SUNY Poly on them and they like having them. I know quite a few people who took quite a couple handfuls of chips. They're not doing it for the prizes. They're keeping those and they're going in the poker set. I yield.
Our advisors?
I'll just mention that one of the things that Web is looking, again, they're kind of trying to flip the narrative and hypothetically looking at switching the narrative around Carnival Day and Casino Night because Casino Night is the largest event. And one of those that we talked about is trying to find some sort of memorabilia chip for students to take home rather than the actual casino chips. I yield.
Treasurer Weddle?
Clarification from Webb. The resolution at the moment says that the line transfer would bring the total casino night budget for prizes to $4,945.59. I'm assuming that's supposed to be $5,800. And just building off of that, if I can ask another question. So I apologize, I didn't receive the numbers from last week. What's the dollar amount that you're spending on supplies? I'm going to yield to Webb to answer those questions.
The total is 7,280, 2 seconds, with the blue chips being 2,640, with that, the white chips being 1,840, and then the arch is 1,600, and then the added extra supplies, which is the tip holders, the card holders, and then the other stuff for the table mats and the roulette wheel is 1,200 for a total of the 7,000 for supplies. And you have to remember, the breakdown of this includes line transfer 1. So that's why the prizes got put to 5,800. The supplies are 7,280, and the dealers are 5,000 for a total of $18,080 for casino night. I yield to Treasurer Weddle.
So I guess I just have some questions about that then, because from the reserves poll, which just passed today, your casino night line was increased by 7,000. From the line transfer that just passed, it was increased by another 1,000. You currently have $5,962 in your casino night line. With the addition of this $4,945, that would bring your total casino night budget to $18,942. Right now, you're only spending $18,000 of it. So you've got $860 just sort of floating around out there. Again, I'm not expecting to spend every single penny, but with regards to the fact that, you're moving thousands of dollars around, I guess I'm just curious as to why this wasn't adjusted. I'm going to yield back to Webb to clarify.
Very confusing how you got those numbers, because we ran this through 4 different times with every single number, and it still totaled to 18. With the 7K reserves pool that we got, we were up to 13,132. With line transfer 1, we were up to 14,130. With line transfer 2, we're up to 18,080. I'm very confused how you got to 18.9.
Pro Tem Ludewan?
I'd like to push back open forum to 150.
Oh, motion push back open forum to 150. Is there a second?
Oh, thank God.
Second by Senator Rose. All those in favor of pushing back open forum to 150, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain, that passes 6-1-0. Back into discussion of the amendment. Treasurer Weddle?
Yeah, I'd be happy to restate. So beginning first with what Webb currently has just in their casino night account, they have $5,962. I'm just looking at Engage. If that number is inaccurate, I'm not sure as to why that is. I'm going to yield. I'm just going to yield.
All right.
The numbers to you that were sent out the other meeting.
Our advisor?
I think we'll just add that there might be a discrepancy of a couple $100. Obviously, counting on the spot is a little difficult for who is
Just a couple.
Sorry, I don't know if the mic is working. But I will add that there were conversations about leaving a little bit of wiggle room just for inflation, costs, shipping, taxes, we have to pay them, fees, things like that. And then, like we mentioned earlier, potentially looking at a memorabilia shift for everybody. So there were a couple of things that we talked about that didn't quite make it on the list, but I do know that Erica and the Vice President of Web did take a good look at this. But I did also encourage them to leave a little bit of space just in the event that costs rise, travel costs for the dealers might rise. When we looked at the dealers' numbers, we went based off of last fall. Obviously, things change by the minute. So I did encourage them to leave a little bit of space.
Is there any further discussion? Treasurer Weddle?
Yeah, I guess I recognize that, and I do, appreciate budgeting with, some padding in mind, but we're talking about $862, and the way this line transfer was advertised that every dollar was accounted for, and it just doesn't really seem like that was. It's more than a couple $100. We're talking about 7 student activity fees. Again, I realize we just passed $120,000 reserve pool. It might seem a little small, inconsequential, but I think it's important to be doing due diligence. I yield.
Senator Novak?
Another thing is while casino night is popular, also what Senator Beckman said before is not entirely true. We did have, at least at the moment, this was weeks ago, and of course opinions change over weeks. We did have a close, at least for the senators who were, if someone wasn't really with the consensus, they just didn't speak up at the time. But at the point, we did have a consensus, at least of senators who were giving their opinions openly. But also, we're taking money from school outings. I know some school outings is a bit like, it takes a bit more planning than other events, and it takes a bit more planning ahead of time. But the school outings are also still very popular to the fact that almost every school outing has always had a reserved list due to the fact that they are so popular that we get more people who want to go than can possibly go in the school outings. And now we're taking money from those school outings that already are struggling with letting everyone who wants to go and putting it towards casino night. Yes, casino night is more popular. Yes, it allows theoretically an infinite amount of people, while school outing only allows however many buses we can get amount of people. But this, even if we're not using, we wouldn't be using this money to do another school outing trip, say we're theoretically this would have been a second school outing trip and we only have one, that money could still then go to that one school outing trip to make sure everybody who wants to go to that school outing trip can actually go for once. And if we're talking about popularity, the school outings are super popular. To my knowledge, I could be wrong, the New York trip and the Salem trip last semester were completely booked out by students and had reserves lists. And I don't know why we're planning. Yeah.
We're looking at 40 students versus 400. Wait, and we're doing a Boston trip already? I mean,
what
50.
are you
50.
clarifying?
That's not a
for-
point of
from
clarity.
her?
For for your numbers, for the bus and the school outings.
Point of
and
order,
stuff?
this isn't a point of that's not a point of clarity.
Continue with what you were stating.
But anyway, my point is that these trips, and I understand casino night's popular, and as I mentioned, can have an infinite more amount of students. It's just that I know there's students who wanted to go on these trips, but just couldn't because they weren't able to get the emails in time, and they got put in the reserves list, and then the reserves list never emptied enough people for them to get put on. And I understand that is just you want first come, first, you want, fast enough, but still, I think we should be thinking about this in more than one way. I mean, I'm not saying that completely cut the budget or something. I'm just saying that
We have an extra set of lists for students. We let them know that they should show up still the next day. If a seat comes available, there have been seats available, those students never showed up. So there's kind of a little bit of gray area there. And these school trips do not garner enough students than it does for casino night. So we're doing one more trip, our final trip, our Boston trip, and then we're just gonna fund casino night. Numbers-wise versus everything, I think in total, if you give me like 2 seconds to quickly pull this up, we had for New York City, we had 75 students put their names up. We had 54 that were reserved, and then from the wait list, we had 4 that actually showed
point of
up.
order, this isn't a point of clarity. This is going a bit point of information. I believe this is going beyond the scope of that still, though, since I did not yield yet.
This is true. You can. We still have 1 minute.
However, I do now yield.
And now we're in open forum. Is there any discussion for open forum? Since we've already done swear-ins, unless a motion is made to have swear-ins. Wildcat Media? Is there a second? Second by Pro Temp Ludewan. Can I have everyone we got to vote on it. Apologies. All those for, nope, it's a discussion. All those is there any discussion for reopening swear-ins? Webb. All right. Is there any further discussion for reopening swear-ins? Seeing no discussion, we'll be moving into voting. All those in favor of reopening swear-ins, please raise your hand. All those opposed? All those who abstain? That passes 7-0-0. Can I have everyone who's swearing in today please come to the center of the horseshoe? We have a motion to reopen discussion of the mentioned resolution, seconded by Senator Beckman. Is there any discussion for reopening this? Senator Beckman? We are in the motion
Oh, sorry. Okay,
to open
sorry,
it. So I will not hear that. Is there any discussion for Senator Novak?
I need to bring up in open forum, but I always said about stuff that's still relevant to today's guest speaker. I know you said to email them, but if we do open up discussion, this will be shutting down any other open forum discussion that could theoretically happen.
All right. Is there any further discussion for reopening the resolution? Treasurer Weddle?
Well, I recognize that ultimately the Senate will also vote on the resolution itself. The fact that the motion to, or the seconding to reopen was accompanied by a request to call the question is a little, I don't know, it's a little iffy, because I think if we really want to have a discussion on it, then we're going to have a discussion on it. If we don't want to have a discussion on it, we can save it till next week. I yield.
Webb?
Possibly entertain a motion to have each person's discussion limited to 60 seconds?
If you'd like, that would have to be a motion made if it's reopened. We are in a motion right now. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll be moving. Oh, Pro Temp. Director of PR.
I just want to mention we dragged out the discussion so long, worrying about amounts that ultimately now we are getting no money anywhere, at least until next week. So just want to say that. I yield.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, we'll be going into voting on reopening the resolution. All those in favor of reopening the resolution, please raise your hand. All those opposed? And all those who abstain, that motion dies. We're in open forum proper. Our audience member? We did lose quorum.
But that's just my point, is that I feel like we need to be looking more at this
We did lose quorum, so the meeting is now adjourned at 1:57.